here's what we're going to get to tonight. I'm just going to drop this right here on, and we've talked about more than this sort of off the air on our 5R Heat thread string, which I feel like since the 3 yards per carry guys are now charging to check out their chat, and they're calling it OnlyFins, that maybe we should charge to see ours. But we'll give you a little bit of it. We can't tell you everything we know because there are things we're still working on. And we'll mention Super Chat. You give us money, we will read your comment. Okay, promise you that. James Harden needs, Anyway, Tyler Herro. That's who we're going to talk about tonight. Because I have now heard that thank you, Manny, for putting that up. Appreciate it. I have now heard that there's a 75% chance or better that he is traded this offseason. In fact, when I've thrown out 75% to several league sources, they've told me that's low. And there's a number of reasons for this, and we've discussed some of these reasons, and there's some that we can't go into a total depth on at this time. The major reason is this. Pat Riley mentioned that Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler are the core two. He only threw Tyler Herro in because he was asked specifically about Tyler Herro, because as we talk about at the end of every presser, he pumps an asset. That's what he does. He does it every single offseason. Tyler Herro is like virtually their only asset right now. Precious is not an asset. KZ Okpala is not an asset. They've got some contracts that I guess are neutral assets, like Dragic if they decide to move him, Iguodala, but they don't have assets, okay? Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of picks. Duncan Robinson has to be re-signed at a pretty big number to become an asset. Same with Kendrick Nunn, and even in that case, I'm not sure Nunn becomes an asset. Oladipo is not an asset. They do not have assets, okay? Bam's their only asset, and they're not trading him, and so the next one becomes Tyler Herro. But what I've been told is just Tyler Herro's not on Jimmy Butler's clock. It's simple. I mean, there's a lot of sort of reasons for that, but one of the main reasons is that Jimmy Butler is ready to win now, and Bam Adebayo is closer to Jimmy's clock, close enough that they can get there. But in the case of Tyler Herro at age, we know what he is, 21 years old, and at his stage of development as a player, without getting to anything else, he's just not on Jimmy's clock. We have also mentioned, and I'm going to throw it out here again, and you guys can read this any way you want, that there was a lot of Tyler Tuesday stuff and everything else that kind of went on in the first season, and this very close relationship between Jimmy and Tyler. I'll just say there wasn't a lot of Tyler Herro talk from Jimmy Butler this season. We've discussed that. That's not news, but I just want to put it out there in terms. It may be news if you haven't listened to us.
It's a signpost.
It's a signpost, okay? And so anyway, I'll put it out there. Greg, as much as you can talk about, consistent with your information?
Yes. But it's interesting from what I've been able to gather. It's a weird spot that the Heat are in, right? Because this was the guy that was kind of pegged as the blue chip asset. At some point, they wanted to be able to either have the trust in Herro to be that guy, or that he was going to be good enough to flip for the guy, or part of the package, headlining a package, or a significant player in that package. And I feel like this is about the worst moment to dangle him as a player to go get anybody. So you're kind of selling low. But if he's not aligned with everybody in the locker room and they feel like they have to do it now, or it could get worse, that the scenario could get worse, or you could have disconnects with other players or anything like that. To me, I feel like you have to look at something. And that's where, like, other rookie players that are maybe worn out their welcome elsewhere, I think is an interesting thing. And also attaching him to an Iguodala contract, which, is another option there. But it looks like Tyler's days are numbered. And that, to me, that's upsetting, just because I felt like just watching him in the bubble, like I feel like ever since the snarl, it's been downhill.
Yeah, and Alex, I want to get to the basketball stuff with you in a second, but I also just want to make something very clear. I think you guys can tell we know more than we're saying, but this is all we're going to say. What we've said so far to this point is all.
I probably said too much.
No, I'm monitoring it. We're both kind of. You didn't say too much. I'm just saying none of us is advocating necessarily to give up on Tyler Herro as a prospect. So this is not coming from us. It's kind of the same thing as when Ira and I reported that the Heat were concerned about his focus this season. They were not concerned about his work ethic necessarily. They were concerned about his focus, and they wanted him to get in the gym more. And Ira and I reported that. and I do know that some people around Tyler were upset at us for us reporting that as if it was us saying it. We're just reporting what the Heat's perspective was on it, and I can tell you 1,000% because I had a lot of people reach out to me afterwards that I was told you guys are 1,000% right. Okay, so I'm just saying this is not us advocating to get rid of Tyler Herro, and
No.
I don't think the Heat want to necessarily get rid of Tyler Herro.
Correct. That's the dilemma.
That's the dilemma, but the problem is he's not really on the timeline right now. They don't have any other assets, and they don't have a hell of a lot of other ways to get better. Again, there's a little bit more than we know than that, but those are the core things from a basketball perspective. Alex, basketball perspective. What I mean, is it smart? I mean, is it smart to move him when, as we said, I mean, they don't really have another asset on the roster?
It's not great, like Leif said. It's not great that now is a time where they've apparently hit this fork in the road, according to what you guys are kind of talking about. From what you've been hearing, it's like his value is not at a great point right now when you're just talking about trying to trade him. And I know it feels like we bring guys down to what their value is as far as what else they can bring you, but that's really what it comes down to, because I'm fine with the idea of trading Tyler Herro for the idea of bringing in another guy who's going to help you on this win now journey. But who's to say that you can get that guy for Tyler Herro? And I know the package would be more than him. It would probably involve some of these player options to make some deals work. But who's to say that they could actually get some of these guys with a package, surrounding Herro and maybe an Andre Iguodala or Goran Dragic? I don't know. I definitely don't know. So I just think it's a little bit tough. I'm sure there's stuff that they could get for him. I'm sure it was not their idea to want to have to move on from him this early on at the nadir of his value, maybe. And although I still feel like he's in a place where he's shown enough he's not a negative asset they're trying to move on from.
Right.
They still got more from him than I think a typical 14th pick. So that's why I think they might be able to still get something. Shout out to you, Porter Jr. I'm going to get a nice chocolate chip cookie or something with that $2.
You can't even get a Big Mac for that. But thank Porter. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
But yeah, it sucks, man. I know that we've all kind of been in on Tyler throughout the past couple of seasons, and it sucks that it seems like it's going to have to end this way. I just don't know where we go from here. It seems unexpected is all I think.
Well, I think it's unexpected if you consider that he had one of the great playoff runs. He had one of the great playoff runs for a rookie. I mean, he really did. I mean,
he had so much love from everybody, from the stars, from the fans.
And I don't think it's that. I mean, again, he hasn't misstepped publicly. I know people get on the personal life and all that. I mean, he hasn't done anything horrible. There's nothing like that. It's just that they're in a certain place. This is an unsentimental place for the Miami Heat right now. You got sentimental Pat Riley last offseason, like you got sentimental Pat Riley, sort of during the middle of the Zoe Timmy years, like you got it after the 2006 championship, like you got it, kind of after the 16-17 run of 30-11. That was sentimental Pat Riley. Thank you, Christian. Hated his season, but super sad it's come to this. That was sentimental Pat Riley. We have been told, all of us, sentimental Pat Riley is gone. That person does not exist this offseason, okay? I mean, this is going to be cut back to cutthroat Pat, okay? And I think they feel like not only do they owe it to Jimmy, but to manage the Jimmy situation, they need to do it. It's really two things. It's they owe it to him for what he's given to the organization, but you do not want an unhappy Jimmy Butler. You just don't, okay? And my understanding is he's not an unhappy Jimmy Butler with the organization, with Spo, with any of that, but that there are certain player changes that ultimately are going to need to be made to make this team better. I think one of the issues here going forward, and this is something we're going to talk about a lot, okay, is that if you're going to essentially cater to Jimmy, to build a team around Jimmy, there are certain guys he's going to want to play with, and there are certain guys that he may not. Okay, a few months ago I brought up Jimmy no longer bragging about Tyler. Ben, we've talked about it. I know you've been on it, okay?
I think Ben is hacking into our chats.
I know. I mean, Ben's been on it, okay. But what I'll say is, like, if you're going to cater to Jimmy's sort of personnel desires, okay. We've talked about Kyle Lowry. We've talked about even on the lower end of TJ McConnell. We've talked about other players around the league. Obviously, Embiid would be the big fish, right? There's a relationship with Dame. He has relationships. But if you're going to cater to him in that way, there is a chance he's going to lose a guy on this team that he does not want to play without, which is Goran Dragic. And to me, that's where this balance is going to get complicated. There's a comfort level with moving on from Tyler. There's not a comfort level with moving on from Goran. I don't know how the Heat are necessarily going to navigate that this offseason with their lack of chips and the fact that to really get a deal done, Greg, a couple of deals. If it's not just going to be, okay, we get Kyle Lowry and then we add a big and that's it, okay? But to get a couple of deals done, okay? Maybe it's a Brogdon. Maybe it's I don't know. They go out to Portland to CJ. Maybe whatever, okay? To do that, they're going to have to move probably Herro and Dragic while moving on from Nunn, correct? So how
think
does
so.
he navigate that?